When the day began on Sunday, 14 players were within 5 shots of the lead at the Open Championship. In the end, only one can rise. In this case, it's Xander Schauffele, a 2-time major champion, the PGA champion, and the Open champion golfer of the year as well. 2 shots clear of Justin Rose and Billy Horschel, who was the 54-hole leader. That is Horschel's best ever finish at a major. The South African Tristan Lawrence had the lead at the turn on Sunday, but didn't have enough for Schauffele, who came home in 31. Here's Xander after his second major of the year.
I was looking at the boards all day. You know, I've tried it in the past where I haven't done it, but at Valhalla I was looking at them all day, and I really wanted to embrace it, and that's what I did there. So I told myself to do the same thing here and really just look at it and embrace it and take it for what it is and move along. So I looked up at the board there, and I knew if I could birdie 16, you know, I birdied 7 today, or 6, sorry. That was the first par 5 I birdied all week. So if I can birdie my second par 5 of the week on 16, that would be special. And then as soon as I hit the green on 17, I had to really try and focus really hard to not let my mind wander too much.
What was more fun, making a 6-footer for birdie and having everyone lose their mind on the 18th, or having that walk that you described? What's the difference in the feelings you had?
It's very different, you know. Different times of stress. You know, if there's a stress meter, I definitely peaked at different moments. You know, on the 18th hole today, the fact that it was a little bit of help and I could, you know, hit a 3-iron, 8-iron in versus, you know, driver, 4-iron, lob wedge or sand wedge or whatever it was. So there's calmness and super stressful moments when you're trying to win a major championship. And, you know, I felt them in the past, the ones I didn't win, and, you know, I let them get to me. And today I felt like I did a pretty good job of weathering the storm when I needed to.
Welcome in Paige McKenzie now, and it really will be a round they're going to talk about and write about, Paige, for years. That final round 65, especially on the back, which wasn't giving up anything to anybody the entire week. What were your thoughts about watching the Open?
Well, it was interesting to hear Xander talk a little bit about the PGA Championship. And I remember him saying after that win, you really had to earn it. And I think he was talking maybe about the mental hurdle. I think in this case, if you were to go back and say he had to earn it, it was the physical challenges of that back 9, to your point, Whit. And when we saw what we saw from Xander on that back 9 was impressive approach play. This 10th hole played the most difficult on the course on that Sunday, played a half a shot over par. And the way that he delivered from the fairway to the green was just clinical. He was very much in control of his ball. This 11th hole also second most difficult of the day. This was probably the most out of position off of the tee that he was. And he talked about in normal conditions he would have hit a 7-iron, but given the jumpiness of the lie, was able to hit pitching wedge and have the only birdie on the day on that 11th hole. And it continued with just good, solid play. And I think this is when you're coming down the stretch, knowing what you've got to do. What we saw from Xander was just putting the ball in the correct positions down the stretch. Never felt like he opened the door for anybody to then try to climb and equal what he was doing. But for Xander Schauffele, he hit every single green on the back 9 on that Sunday. It was an impressive display of control throughout the day, but specifically on the gauntlet, which was the back 9 that all these players had to face on difficult conditions on that Sunday.
We'll have more from Paige in just a moment. Schauffele is the 4th player since 2010 to win multiple majors in the same season. He joins in that category Rory McIlroy, 2014, Jordan Spieth, 2015, most recently Brooks Koepka in 2018. The hottest player on tour, not named Scotty Scheffler. He has opened some eyes this year.
He played great. Listen, he's the 2nd best player this year in the world. No one's played better than him, in my opinion. You look at he's got 2 majors. I don't know if he's won anywhere else before the PGA, but he's been up there consistently having chances to win. Obviously, Scotty's got 5 or 6 wins in a major. But what Xander's done this year, the consistency he plays with, he's taken his game to another level. He deserves, to hold that claret jug right now.
Just a guy at the top of his game, a guy that has all the attributes that make him a great player and a great champion. And you know, he's obviously now learning that the winning is easy. You know, he just he has a lot of horsepower. Do you know what I mean? In the sense of he's good with a wedge. He's great with a putter. He hits the ball a long way. Obviously, his iron play is strong. So he's got a lot of weapons out there, and I think he's probably one of his most unappreciated ones is his mentality. You know, he's such a calm guy out there. I don't know what he's feeling, but he just certainly makes it look very easy. And he plays with a freedom, which kind of tells you as a competitor that he's probably not feeling a ton of the bad stuff. So that you know, he's got a lot of runway ahead and a lot of exciting stuff ahead, I'm sure.
You know, finishing third and fifth and fourth and second, and but then winning the PGA, and it looks like he's going to win here 2 majors. That kind of all-round really good gets it done in the biggest events, and I think the greats of the game kind of did that, especially Tiger.
Players that have won 2 majors in a season recently, in like the last decade, like Rory and Jordan and Brooks, they're largely regarded as the best players of this generation. Would you say now that you've sort of cemented yourself as one of the best of this generation?
I don't really think that way, I guess. You know, I think the guys in the States sort of know how these pressers go. You know, I pretty much, that's your guys' job to speculate and do those things, and I'm just trying to win as many of these things as I can and play the best golf as I can and be a decent guy. So I'll let you you ponder that one.
Paige, I like the comment about having a long runway because he is only 30 years old. And when you hear the other players talk about Schauffele, you hear a lot of respect in their voices. What did you take away from that?
Even though he's only 30, I think he's been through a lot in his career. And a lot of it was good, but there's also some moments that made you question whether he had the guts to get across the finish line in a major way. Let's go back to his rookie season, the first time that we saw him win on the PGA Tour. This was the 18th hole at the Greenbrier. He was in contention all day, and it came down to this final hole, this par 3, and he steps up and does this. Brilliant shot, birdies the final hole, which ultimately gave him the championship. Also went ahead and won that Tour Championship that same year. You're thinking, man, this rookie, he's got a lot of guts. There was an article actually written after he won that he gave up soccer to play golf because the soccer coach moved him from offense to defense. That's the kind of killer personality you felt like you saw on the golf course, but it didn't always translate years later. Going back to 2020, he was defending his title at Century Tournament of Champions. This was the final hole, another opportunity to win this championship, to go back to back. And he drills the eagle putt by, and then also misses this birdie putt, ends up in a playoff, and then also does something similar in the playoff, and so doesn't quite get it done. It felt like he's leaving us wanting more. Also, we saw moments of that this season. You could go back to Genesis, where he put himself in position. I think the most notable might have been at the Players, where he gave himself opportunities coming down the stretch and just couldn't convert with the putter. And it became a theme, at least early part of this season. Sunday in contention, the putter went cold. And it was also true of Wells Fargo, where Rory McIlroy had that great Sunday run. But in addition to that, Xander just couldn't get the putter going. Well, there was something about that Wells Fargo week, and perhaps he was just fed up with the narrative that he couldn't close. Because then when he went to the PGA Championship, there was a determined Xander. There was a level of determination on that Sunday to get it done. And he putted brilliantly. He quashed any narrative of him not being able to close, not being able to putt in contention on a Sunday. And when you consider what he also just did at the Open with another major championship that was so much dependent on how he was going to perform on Sunday when it mattered. I love what he had to say, Whit, when he talked about watching the leaderboard, knowing where he was at, and then performing when he needed to coming down the stretch. I think we're seeing Xander come through any of those troubles that he may have had trying to close golf tournaments and come out the other side stronger.